everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to another Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. I'm going to be doing this one alone by myself today, but it's for the reasons of, well, it's a weekend, all right? And my co-host, Donald Thomas, obviously has a lot of stuff he's got to do. He's got family he's got to take care of and stuff like that for the weekend while he works during the weekdays. I'm going to tell you right now, I was posted an absolute awesome question on my Streamlabs donation link, which you can do as well by clicking the link in the description of this video or just going to Streamlabs and going to Lawrence Owen and checking me out there. You can drop any kind of questions that you would like. I was dropped an absolute banger of a question about the Indianapolis Colts by my guy, Hermitcrabbot. And I'm going to get into that right now. Well, maybe not right now, but I'll let you know. He asked, should the Colts keep an eye open next season for an upgrade at backup quarterback? So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Gardner Minshew and the available options for a backup quarterback in the league. But before we do, I got to remind everybody that BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NBA, NFL, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% rewards on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. So, look, the backup quarterback is by far, it might be the second most important position on the team, okay, especially in today's NFL. If you look at it, your starting quarterbacks, the odds of your starting quarterback playing all 17 games of a season is slim to none. Look at how many quarterbacks not only have missed time, nearly all of them, it seems like, have missed time at some point or another. But you got guys like Joe Burrow, right? Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, not to mention, our own Anthony Richardson, out for the season. Backup quarterbacks are so important right now in today's NFL. And it is important not only to get a backup quarterback that you can win with in just a short, 1 or 2 games, but someone that you can revolve your offensive game plan around if needed. Now, there is a reason why there are only so many starters in the NFL, because starting quarterbacks are very, very rare. Good ones, anyhow. Backups are even more rare because you can get anybody to be a backup quarterback, whether or not they're going to be any good or not, right? Gardner Minshew, let's face it, out of the 10 games so far this season, he's played 9 games of meaningful snaps. That week 1 against Jacksonville, he was in for only 2 snaps, right, due to a little banged up knee on Anthony Richardson. I'm not going to count that game. In those 9 games that Gardner Minshew played, the Colts are 5-4. The Colts are 5-4 with Gardner Minshew playing at least one half of a football game. That's something, right? For a backup quarterback to have a winning record, playing meaningful snaps in those games, that has to say a lot. Now, with Gardner Minshew, there's obviously a lot of stuff that worries us, and there's a lot of stuff to be positive about. We're going to get into that right now. Appreciate you, Hermitcrabbot, for dropping this question because it was an excellent question, and I wanted to get into exactly that. Now, when it comes to let's kind of look at what Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew, comparisons at this point. Remember, Anthony Richardson only played 4 games this season, right? Started 4 games, had 84 passing attempts, right? And some rushing attempts as well, obviously. But look, Anthony Richardson had 59.5, we'll call it 60% completion percentage, which for him was good. But for the NFL, you want to be closer to around 65. All right. 65 is kind of middle of the pack right now when it comes to the top 16 or top 32 quarterbacks in the league. About 65% is about there. Gardner's still a little below that. He's at 63.7, but it's reasonable for a backup. Okay. Look at interception percentage. You want interception percentage to be 2% or lower. Anthony Richardson, shockingly, 1.2% interception percentage. That's amazing. He had one interception in 84 attempts. Wow. Gardner Minshew, now, he did have a game where he had 3 picks in one game. Okay. He also had, games where he just was not, he also has fumbles, stuff like we're going to get into that. His interception percentage, 2.3%, which is right around where you want your starting quarterback to be. Okay. Right around the 2 point, ish. That's about where your average is in the league. Brock Purdy's got a 2. Deshaun Watson, or teams that are tied for 6, or quarterbacks tied for interception percentage at 2.3. At 16th, that's the middle of the road. Deshaun Watson, Sam Howell, Geno Smith, Gardner Minshew, Tua, right? Those guys tied for 16th. That's average. That's average. That's great for a backup. To have a backup that only averages 2.3, that's fantastic. Touchdown percentage, not as great for Gardner Minshew. Look, you want your touchdown percentage to be around 5%. That's about average in the league. Anthony Richardson, as a passer, was only getting 3.6%. Gardner Minshew, less than that, 3.1%. That's a negative. That is a negative right there. Gardner Minshew in the touchdown percentage right now at 3.2% puts him, or 3.1%, puts him right around 22nd in the league. Not good at all. And that's just not something that we really want to have as a backup, let alone a starter in the league. Now, look, we already talked about a lot of the important stuff. Let's just overall quarterbacking, QBR, okay? Your QBR, not your passer rating. Because, look, passer rating QBR is different. Passer rating is your rating just throwing the football. QBR is your overall quarterback rating. Your passer rating, Anthony Richardson had a better passer rating than Gardner Minshew, 87.3 to 83.8, which is shocking, right? It really is shocking. 83.8 puts Gardner Minshew at 23rd overall. But 87 would have put Anthony Richardson right around 19th in the NFL. All right, as a passer. But if you run the QBR overall quarterback play, and this is what's really weird, because at the beginning of the year, we would have thought, well, passer rating, Gardner Minshew is going to blow Anthony Richardson out of the water, but quarterback rating, which involves everything, Anthony should be blowing Gardner Minshew out of the water, but that's not the case. Not the case. Anthony Richardson's QBR was 47.4. It was horrible. Gardner Minshew has a 62 QBR. 62. That puts him 12th best in the NFL. 12th best in the league. Right around guys like CJ Stroud and Lamar Jackson, believe it or not. Okay? These are guys that are right around Gardner Minshew's QBR. That's impressive right now, considering CJ Stroud is considered one of the best in the league. Now, Stroud has a 101 passer rating, so that really bumps his overall quarterback rating quite a bit, just like Lamar has a 100 passer rating, which bumps his QBR, which tells me that his ability to run with the football, avoid sacks, stuff of that nature, is actually better this year than Lamar Jackson has been, or what CJ Stroud has been, which is impressive by huge numbers. Huge. Something else that's kind of shocking. Look, Gardner's only been sacked 15 times in those 9 games that he's played. 15 times. That's a sack percentage of 5.5. That's 8th best in the league. 8th best. Wow. That's impressive. He's able to avoid sacks. Now, we all know he's had some fumbles, right? He's had some fumbles sitting back there. And that's not a good situation for any quarterback to have. End up fumbling the football. But let's be fair. He hasn't had that many. He only had those 2 games where he had 3 interceptions and a fumble. And then the other game, he had 3 fumbles and an interception. Okay. Gardner Minshew, outside of those 2 games, actually has done very well in protecting the football. But again, some things that statistics does not put in on it. Things that statistics are not going to show you is ever since he had those 2 games, he's had that happy feet, right? Where he's bouncing around the pocket even when the pocket's clean, right? Looking for an escape route, it looks like. Missing open targets because he's worried about, ghosted pressure around him. Seeing wide open targets right in front of his face. That's a scary situation. You got to be able to get a quarterback to calm down in the pocket so he's able to see every option available to him. Another thing is when he initially scrambles outside of the pocket, he loses sight of the field. He looks at where he's going and he's looking around him to look for that escape. He doesn't feel pressure the way Anthony Richardson does. He does do a great job of avoiding the pressure once he realizes it's there, though, as opposed to, the sack percentage and, his overall QBR definitely states that. Now, the question is, should the Colts try to extend Gardner Minshew, or should they look somewhere else, to look for their backup? Right now in the NFL, I think Gardner Minshew is still one of the best backups in the league. All right. He still has a winning record, right? As a backup, he has a winning record with meaningful snaps, as I said earlier in this game. He's still a guy. Look, is he going to be a starter? I don't think he's a legit starter. He might start on 4 or 5 teams. There's some teams out there right now that would take Gardner Minshew. I'd almost guarantee right now there's at least 7 teams in the league that would rather have Gardner Minshew playing for them right now than their starting quarterback that they have right now, right? Especially some of these teams that they've lost their starting quarterbacks to, right? So you got to realize that Gardner Minshew still a very well-wanted backup quarterback. The problem is, can we afford him, right? Can the Indianapolis Colts afford Gardner Minshew to pay him an extension? That's a tough one. Now, we got to go and look at their salary cap, right? We got to look at next year's salary cap, all right, for the NFL. And right now, the Indianapolis Colts have the 7th most salary cap next year. 7th most. And they've got guys. It's not like they only have to re-sign a few guys, major contracts, right? Which is huge. That's what I'm looking at. They have plenty of available next year. And they got some of the least dead cap space. Next year they only have 422,000 dead cap. 422,000 dead cap. That's because they do not spend a whole bunch of money on people and then end up losing it on long-term contracts, right? So let's look at this. Obviously, the Colts need to re-sign Grover Stewart. We've absolutely noticed big time the difference in our defense when Grover Stewart's not there. We need to re-sign Michael Pittman Jr. We need to re-sign Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore, best nickel corner in the league. It's already been stated. So far this year, he's the best nickel corner. He's like fourth best overall in the NFL at corner. All right, we should really go ahead and extend him. Gardner Minshew, backup quarterbacks don't get paid a lot, anywhere between vet minimum upwards to around $5 to $7 million. Can the Colts afford to drop $5 to $7 million a year? Gardner Minshew right now is not really being paid that much anyhow, right? I mean, he's not getting paid that much at all this year. He's only getting $1.75 million. Now that $1.75 million, that's not something that, that's a base salary 1.7. He's getting $3.5 million. And that's, didn't expect him to literally start 13 games this year. So next year, you extend him. Some team is going to, if some team wants him to be the starter, that'd be shocking. Okay. Like to pay him and be like, you're our guy moving forward. I doubt it. There'll be a lot of teams bidding for him, however, to be their backup. And it's really going to depend not only on money, but fit, right? Look, Gardner knows the head coach. He knows this team. He knows the system. If the Colts give him a contract, I feel that is adequate. If I say somewhere around $4 or $5 million as a backup, I think he stays with Indy long term. You give him a 2-year deal, $4.5 million a year, right? I think Gardner Minshew stays. Can we afford $4.5 million? We got like 77 free cap space. Yes, we can absolutely do that. Should we? Well, where else are we going to go? Where else are we going to go to get a backup quarterback? There's not a lot of good backup quarterbacks, especially when you get a backup quarterback. You want someone that's not going to drastically change your style from your starting to your backup. All right. Sirianni, he doesn't really change a whole lot. The only thing that really, really changes, and Sirianni has said this, and the offensive coordinator has said this, right? They really haven't changed a lot. The only thing they have done is taken out a few plays, which are the quarterback designed runs. Like they don't call as many quarterback designed runs with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, obviously, as they do with Anthony Richardson. All right. But they play their base passing formations with Gardner Minshew. So that fit works. It's not a big, huge difference right there. And I would rather stick with someone that knows the system, knows the players, and is happy, as opposed to bring someone else new and rolling the dice on somebody brand new. Unless that rolling the dice legitimately is a draft pick, right? And the problem with the draft pick is once you get out of the first round at quarterback, it's up in the air, right? It's up in the air. Are you going to put your money down on a 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick for a quarterback? I mean, we have those. We have those in the last, 4 years. Ballard has drafted guys like that. And guess what? They're either not on the team or they're our third string. Right now, we have a second string, and Sam Ellinger. It's a late round draft pick. He was third string starting the season off. That's what you're looking at when drafting guys mid to late rounds. They're not generally quarterback, like starting quarterback or backup quarterback. My issue, usually your good backup quarterbacks generally are first or second round picks that are deemed as busts as a starter. And then they can come in and play good quality backup positions. Okay. That's what you're looking at. Now, Gardner obviously isn't one of those. And occasionally you'll find a quarterback that's just like, what? Like a Gardner Minshew, pretty decent, as a backup. Brock Purdy comes to mind, obviously, right? He's considered one of the better quarterbacks, right? When it comes to passer ratings, I think he's got the highest in the NFL right now. But those aren't something that you can legitimately rely on when going to the draft. And as, free agency, that's just because a guy does something well as a backup on one team does not mean they're going to do so, especially at quarterback, on another. Because players around them are different. The systems are usually different. The culture is usually different. Just so much changes. Right now, Gardner Minshew, even with the faults that he has, the things that we're not happy with, he's still winning games, right? He's still winning games. And it's not like we want him as our starter long term, all right? He's not our starter long term. We're hoping and praying that we dropped our eggs in the Anthony Richardson basket and Anthony Richardson comes back next year and stays healthy and plays phenomenal for us. But Gardner Minshew has done what he needs to do. He did have 2 really bad games this year, back to back, right? Where he had 8 turnovers in 2 games. Outside of that, he hasn't had nearly as many. Okay. Outside of that, he did not have nearly as many. Let me see here. He had 1 interception last week against the New England Patriots. No turnovers at Carolina, right? 0 turnovers in Carolina. He had 1 interception against the Saints. And then, of course, the Cleveland and Jacksonville debacles, back-to-back, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a debacles where he had 8 turnovers, right? Well, no, according to this, yeah, 8 turnovers in that period of time. But against Tennessee, no turnovers, right? Baltimore, 1 turnover, and that was a fumble, right, off a sack. Houston, no turnovers. So outside of those 2 games, he's actually done a pretty good job in keeping himself safe. And I also want to state that those 2 games, Cleveland and Jacksonville, are the 2 games that he was under pressure the most, right? 7 sacks in those games. 4 against Cleveland, 3 against Jacksonville. Well, Baltimore, he had 5 sacks, but somehow he was able to hold off on that. The last 3 weeks, he's been sacked 3 times. The last 3 weeks, he's had 3 sacks and 2 turnovers in the last 3 weeks. Not bad. Not bad. And he's 2-1 in those games. Should have been 3-0. Let's face it. We should have won the New Orleans game, right? We should have won the Cleveland game. We should have won. There's multiple games that we should have won, in my opinion, but it didn't happen. All right. It's not just Gardner Minshew that we're having the issues with, guys. So thank you again. I really appreciate that. Hermitcrabbot did drop this question right here. Again, if you want to drop a question, feel free. Go to streamlabs.com, check out Lawrence Owen, and you can donate there. It's just like a super chat, only I can bring it up later. All right. Thanks so much. Don't forget, you can also check out the Patreon. If you're watching this on YouTube, please smash that like button, hit subscribe. If you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video. If you're listening to this on an audio podcast, please remember, you can check me out on YouTube as well, me and Donald Thomas. You can also, please, if you're listening to this to an audio podcast, leave a review, especially if it's on iTunes. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Do you believe?